This is the landing page that gives you the basic details of the report, such as the location focus, the date in which the report was created, postcodes associated with the report, and whether there are any special filters applied to it. At the moment, there is only one filter applied, which is that only the 1 to 6 bed properties are visible. The postcode map does what it says by showing the geographic location and extent of the postcode on a map. In Great Yarmouth's case, there are 4 postal areas. The Property Sales Prices page looks at the current number of properties for sale in the 5 postal areas. In the top chart, if there are properties for sale, it would plot out the median price of that postcode so you get a good idea of which places are more expensive or cheaper to buy in. Naturally speaking, the more number of rooms there are, the more expensive it is. But we can also see that the more expensive areas of Great Yarmouth to buy in would be NR31 and NR29, which are both along the front of the coast and in the central and northern areas of Great Yarmouth. The below chart gives you the number of properties that are listed for sale. So they have not been sold yet but are listed on the market. NR31 and 30 seem to have to most properties for sale, with both having a lot of 3-bed properties available. The next page here has a similar format to the sales page, but instead with rental prices, showing the median asking rental prices for each area and bedroom property type and the number of available properties listed in the bottom chart. So in general, there aren't a lot of properties for rent in Great Yarmouth, and this could or could not mean that there is an undersupply. The time on market for rental listings page shows how long for each bedroom property size and postal code a property has been on the market. If you look at NR32, so far a 2-bed property is on the market for 27 days and a 3-bed has been on there for 188 days. Anything over 2 months may be considered overpriced, so there could be room for negotiation here. But you will need to read this chart in conjunction with the number of rental properties on the market, as the results could be based off a small data set. The number of properties for rent for NR32 as indicated on the previous page is 2. So these numbers may not be an accurate depiction of the rental market condition. The bottom chart here shows the average number of days listed again, but by property type. So looking at NR32 again, you can see that the property with 188 days on the market is actually a 3-bed bungalow. Similarly, with the same format with the sales data. As the dataset is larger for NR32, the information should be more accurate if you want to have a rough gauge as to how the sales market is doing. General trends I'm seeing is that a 6-bed property in areas NR31, 32 and 29 stay on the market for longer, as well as mobile homes for areas NR31 and 29. Here we see in a map view how property prices compare and how it relates to supply. The supply is calculated against the number of properties versus the number of people that live in that postal area. This correlation is displayed as a color. If it is towards the red color, there is a high supply versus the population, and the opposite where it is green. The size of the bubble indicates the average sales price in relation to the other bubbles in Great Yarmouth. In an ideal world, we would be targeting a small bubble with a green color to indicate that there is an undersupply in this area at a lower price range. Of course, it is not always that simple, but these correlations do help. On the right you see the lowest sales property price, middle property price and the highest property price in the Great Yarmouth area. This will give you a good idea on the range we're working with. This page is the same formula but with rental properties. You can see that the bubble sizes vary quite a lot for rentals, with NR30, 31 and 13 being at a much lower price compared to the other places. However, It is also showing that the more central areas of Great Yarmouth is of high supply compared to the general population. The sales properties days on market versus crime rate map looks to explore whether it is harder to sell a property in a high crime area. So the bigger the bubble, the longer the property has been on the market. And red being high crime, green being low crime. The crime rate is the number of crimes recorded compared to the area population, so it is number of crimes per person. If we only look at the central areas of Great Yarmouth, we can see that areas of low crime in the south seem to be on the market for a shorter number of days, which could indicate being a more desirable area. On the top we see the lowest number of days on market for the 5 postal codes, middle number of days and the highest number of days for context. With 793 being the highest number, that would mean the property had been on the market for over 2 years. This page explores whether crime impacts the time a rental property is on the market. In general, it looks like rental are on the market a lot less than sales, but it appears to follow a similar trend to the sales properties in that the safer areas in the central regions appear to be snapped up quicker. The sale properties days on market versus supply page aims to explore whether the oversupply of properties on sale in a particular area impacts the time a property is on the market. In Great Yarmouth's case, it does not appear to be the case, as properties in NR31 are taken off the market despite what it appears to be an oversupply. So data presented like this needs to be reviewed in context with other information. It could be a growing area, for example, or simply very people want to sell in that location. Similarly, with the rental properties days on market versus supply, we want to explore the same relationship. In the rental market case, it appears that oversupply has no impact on the number of days rentals are on the market. With NR29, 30 and 31 having shorter number of days on the market despite being deemed high supply. Sales price by postcode, type and beds. Here is just a table showing average price, number of properties for sale, number of days listed and crime rate. This is just another way to present the information together, so you can see the cost of different types of properties as well as how long they've been on the market. You can see at the bottom the overall average price and the average number of days properties have been on the market. You can therefore use this as a benchmark for comparison within Great Yarmouth. Same with the rental properties, you can see what the going rental rates are by property type and size. We can also see how many of each type there is. As there aren't as many rental properties listed, the range for each property type is going to be less. The gross rental yield page gives you an idea of what the potential returns. By postcode, property type and size. This page here breaks down the summary into postcodes so you can get an idea of the best performing places in Great Yarmouth. We can see that for Key Stage 2 education, the best performing area is NR13, but when it comes to Key Stage 4 it is NR29. There is no data for Key Stage 5, so this portion can be ignored. And then we look at the best performing schools for Key Stage 2. If you ignore the schools with the NA values, you can see that the best performing school is in NR31 called Stradbroke Primary School. At a glance it looks like postcodes NR31 and NR13 have the best schools. For Key Stage 4, the top school is Ormiston Venture Academy, which is in NR31. There are some schools without any data, which could even mean a score of 0 or they were not recorded for whatever reason. So it's important to understand where the gaps are in the data, as perhaps not everything is recorded. There is no key Stage 5 data since there were no schools or colleges that provide this level of education, so we'll just move on. The next section here looks at the count of points of interest. Points of interest are essentially locations in which people may want to visit. Whether it's for sightseeing, sport, or some kind of tourist attraction, they are considered to be a point of interest. Examples of points of interest would be museums, theme parks, cathedrals, walking tour, or gardens. Knowing this number will help determine how interesting this place could be for tourists if that is important to you. Overall, there isn't a great deal of interesting places looking at the numbers, but amongst the several postcodes it would be NR30 that has the most attractions out of the 3 postal codes that has attractions. The section will look at food places and where the food and beverage hotspots are in Great Yarmouth. When we look at the numbers here, we see that NR30 again comes out top with 127 F&B outlets, with NR31 coming a far second with 64. But this time there are 4 postcodes with F&B outlets. On this page we get to see the food establishment numbers on a map. The bigger the bubble and darker the red means that there are simply more F&B outlets in this location. The map is really to see where the hotspots are in relation to one another. This could be important for some people who like to go out. And finally, we have a map showing the nearest universities. This could be important for those who are intending to rent out to students. As you can see from the map, the closest universities from Great Yarmouth would be Norwich University of the Arts and University of East Anglia. This is around 20 miles away, so Great Yarmouth may not be the right location for student-lets. So this brings us through to the end of the report. Thank you for joining us on this journey through Great Yarmouth's data trail. If you want to download this report for free, you can visit us at www.good-places-property.com. Thanks again for watching.